In this video, I'm going to show you an overview of a furniture inventory. And each design firm that you work for might have their own unique way of doing a furniture inventory and representing it, but this is just a very basic one. So I'm going to show you first how I made it, and then I'm going to kind of go through each of the categories to show you the pertinent information. So just to begin, a furniture inventory is something that you will create for a client's existing furniture. And it's so that if the client wants to incorporate anything that they already have into their new project, that the designer has a record of it. And so what you're seeing here is just a very simple Word document, and I have inserted a table in it. And the reason I used a table is so that I could hover over and adjust the width of columns as necessary. You can see here that I have several columns here that refer to characteristics and information about each piece. But before I go into that, I want to show you, if you zoom out, that I have it organized according to furniture type. So you can see here I've got the seating first, then after that tables, and you can see that there's a break between pages so that it's not confusing, but I actually have put the headings for the table in the header of the document so that they will repeat on each page. And so that allows us to have the information right at our fingertips instead of having to scroll up and see the description of the columns and rows on each page. And so you can see on the final page, I have just the storage furniture here. So a client's inventory may span many pages if they have a lot of existing pieces, or you have a lot of information that you need to capture for each one. But this one is very simple and would be easy to flip through. So for each furniture type, I have, as you can see, like I said, the headings in the header and footer, and then I have a colored kind of break bar here to separate the furniture types. And you can see here I've got a high resolution image. Now I just took these with my phone, but I cropped them and I made sure that the background was relatively neutral. And I took a picture that showed the most or the best angle of the furniture piece to give the most information, because I really don't want to have a ton of images in here. If I need really specific information about exact finishes, for example, I would go grab the piece so that we could match to it. But for right now, just a simple image that's well lit, that's concise, and that shows the important qualities and form of the furniture will work just fine. You can see here in the next column, I have also described it. So, I've talked about the style and what type of chair it is, but you can also see I've put a little key in here, and that becomes important later as I create a floor plan for my client, and I need to show where this particular chair goes, because I want to make sure that the key on the plan can tie, or the key on the plan can tie right back to this furniture inventory. And so that's why you see this here. You can see the chairs are numbered, and the T for table is numbered, and then the storage items also have their own key. You can see here that the next header that we've got is the quantity, and most of these are one, but just a couple of them are twos, and that's important because that means that we can create a asymmetrical or symmetrical balance. If we've got one piece of furniture, there might be some asymmetry, but if we've got a pair, that means that we might be able to create a symmetrical space with one object on each side. The dimensions here, you can see they're in inches. You can do them in feet and inches if you want to, but I was just trying to be concise and consistent. And so I just kept them in inches. You can see here that I've got width, depth, and height, and I'm very consistent as far as which dimension comes first throughout this furniture inventory, just because it makes it a little bit easier. You can see here for round objects, I have the diameter as well. The next category that we look at is the material and finish. Now, keep in mind that an interior designer who needs to catalog information in a furniture inventory because this furniture is, out of town or in a storage unit or is not accessible, is going to have to be really careful about describing things and then matching them to a physical sample. But in this case, I have a pretty good picture. I'm able to access this furniture if I absolutely have to, but I decided to give it a really good description. So you can see here, I've broken these down into upholstery and then frame finish and I've given a description as well. You can see here that a good design vocabulary is helpful here so that you can refer to, caning, for example, or, fur on cowhide in this specific type of upholstery. There are some things that are not upholstered, and so you can see here, I just got rid of that heading. You can see here that there's some things that I can not do much more than just describe the material. And for example, in this, for this furniture piece, the paint color might be very important if I wasn't going to repaint it. And so in that case, I might color match it. I might bring my fan deck with me and note the name of the color so that I can have that available if I need to match it up against a new rug, for example. The final category right here, it doesn't have anything in it right now, but it's always good when you're making a table to put a little note section in, because that way, if you need to describe something about the piece that isn't obvious from the picture, you have a place to write it. So in the notes section, you might put something like, you know, there's a rip in the caning, for example, in this furniture piece, and it needs to be replaced before it can be installed. Or you might say something like, the hardware for this, furniture piece down here has been, taped to the inside of the bottom drawer so that it doesn't get damaged. Or you might say something like, this trunk belonged to, you know, um, the client's great-great-grandfather. Please practice caution when using and only wear gloves when touching it. So that can be really helpful just to give any additional information. But on the whole, this furniture inventory is intended to be very simple, very concise, and get the facts very quickly and easily to the designer so that he or she can use this as a reference when creating the floor plan and making additional selections for new pieces of furniture.